I'm Dr. Douglas Street. I am a general practitioner from Montego Bay, Jamaica. I want to explain something very, very important to you. It's about the intestinal microbiota or the intestinal microbiome. Now, the intestinal microbiota is that community of bacteria that lives in your intestines. You do have different populations of bacteria that live in and on your body. They live in your mouth, they live in your ears, on your skin, in your stomach, and they are very, very important for your health. Now, this is actually a large number of bacteria, and it has been estimated that there is more bacterial cells that live in and on your body than even the human cells. Some persons estimate it as about 10 times as much. But because they don't occupy much space, they are smaller than human cells. So therefore, you won't really see them. But they are very, very important for the function of your body. Now, they're usually, it's just estimated that there are about 1,000 different species of bacteria that live in on your body, and they actually perform very important functions for your body. A lot of the genetic material that your body uses is actually in these bacteria, so they are critical for the function of your body. Now, we often think of bacteria as harmful, but these bacteria are actually friendly for the most part, and so it's very important that we keep them in mind when we're not taking any activity that's going to affect our health. Now, these a large portion of these bacteria live in your intestines, and why this is important is for a number of reasons. Number one, most of your immune system is in your intestines, and the immune system interacts with the bacteria, and there are several factors that can affect that interaction. Now, if these bacteria are not properly balanced, then it can have a negative impact on your immune system in your intestines. And because most of your immune system is in the intestines, it's going to affect the immune system elsewhere in your body. If bacteria not balanced, then it's going to have a negative impact. It can cause your immune system to become particularly sensitive, and you can end up with allergic problems, for example, things like eczemas, things like asthma, things like we call urticaria, which is rashes on the skin. So having an imbalance in your intestinal bacteria can lead to these allergic problems. It also can cause your immune system to produce excessive inflammation, and we have spoken before in a previous video about the importance of inflammation in your body. So this inflammation that is being produced by the imbalance in your intestinal bacteria can trigger off a lot of other problems, stomach problems, joint problems, hormonal problems. So they are very, very important. And oftentimes when persons have these problems, it's as a result of the imbalance in the intestinal bacteria. Now, it also affects your brain function. Now, there's this entity called the gut-brain axis. And what this is an interaction that takes place between your brain and your gut, primarily mediated by the bacteria that is in your intestines, and it is through the vagus nerve. Now, when you have an imbalance in your intestinal bacteria, it makes not just your immune system sensitive, but it also makes your brain more sensitive. And it may lead to different problems like headaches, anxiety symptoms, depressive symptoms, and other psychiatric problems. It may cause dizziness. It may cause drowsiness. So it is very, very important to have a proper balance, because it does affect the way that your mind functions. So there are many different impacts that these bacteria can have on your body, both the health of your body and your mind. And there are several things that can cause a negative effect on the bacteria in your intestines. You may be born with an imbalance in your intestinal bacteria, because if, for example, your mother has this imbalance, then this mother can pass it on to her child, especially during childbirth. Improper health practices, such as how you eat, If you don't have enough plant-based foods, for example, you may develop an imbalance. If you're not getting getting enough water, it may affect the function of your intestinal bacteria. If you're not getting enough sleep, it may affect the function as well. If you're having too much sugar in the diet, it can affect it. Stress can also have a negative impact on your intestinal bacteria. And what can happen is that the stress triggers a change in intestinal bacteria, and then that change can then influence your brain and cause certain problems. So that is also an important influence. Now, if you use a lot of harmful chemicals, things like insecticides and so on, these can also, and pesticides and antibacterial chemicals, these can have a negative impact on your intestinal bacteria as well. Now, how can they have a positive impact? We mentioned before about your diet. Having a lot of plant-based foods, it can have a positive impact. And you also have what we call prebiotics, which are certain components in some foods and some supplements which have a positive impact. Taking probiotics is also beneficial to your intestinal bacteria, but it's important to get a good quality probiotic. For example, you should get one which has what we call at least 1 billion colony forming units, or CFU. So if you're buying a probiotic, ensure that it has at least that amount. Some persons recommend that you get at least 5 billion, and you can get even higher. Another thing that's important is that it's important that the supplement actually allows the bacteria to pass through your stomach and get into your intestine, because that's where it is most important. And it's also important to have a good variety of bacteria. So rather than getting a probiotic which has in just one bacteria, get one that has several, because each bacteria has a different function, different benefits. So for example, the one that have a beneficial effect on inflammation may not be the same one that has a beneficial impact on gastroenteritis. So it's important to get the correct probiotic in order for you to bring out the correct effect. There are other ways to influence your intestinal bacteria. For example, you have what we call the fecal transplant, where they use processed stool, yes, human stool, processed, and make sure it's clean and non-infective, and actually place it inside of the intestines, the large intestines especially. And this can be used for several different medical conditions. Yes, it may sound a bit strange, but that is actually being done right now and has been shown to be beneficial. There are many different conditions that are caused by this intestinal bacteria, and one of them is actually autism. So it is very, very important to understand this issue of your intestinal microbiota, and ensure that your practices, your lifestyle is one that promotes a healthy balance in your intestinal bacteria. And as part of treating most of the medical conditions, it's important to address this balance in intestinal bacteria, because when you do that, you can get very, very good results and significant improvements in these conditions. Take care.